We've got some controversial nerfs, and some people are going to be happy, some people are going to be unhappy. The one thing I think that we could all agree upon is that there's no buffs. Where are they going to buff anything? If they're going to nerf 6 cards, why aren't they going to buff anything at all? So we're going to go over the patch notes, and I think there's going to be some other decks that are left intact. I still think there's going to be a strong place in the game for Darkhawk and Devil Dino. I think Thor Lockjaw is largely left in place, as well as like a Sandman Electro ramp deck and Galactus. And technically, in these patch notes, Leech got a buff. So we're going to go over all of this right now. More tokens. Players who have not finished Series 3 will now earn 4x more tokens than before. So in place of the normal spot where you would get 100 collector tokens, now it'll give you a random amount anywhere from 200 to 600, effectively being 400, being 4 times more. However, Series 3 cards will not be purchasable for 1,000 collector tokens. Now, what's interesting is that there's a new part in the shop right now where you can collect a single Series 3 card per season, and this rotates every 8 hours. You can hit claim. This is the only card that I have that is not Series 3 complete. But also, there still appears for now, for people that have pinned a Series 3 card, or there's like a card in the location right now, my best guess is that at the next reset, which happens in 3 hours, Series 3 cards will no longer show up here for 1,000 collector tokens. Let's read the patch notes. Explains it a little better right here. Shop update. Cards now can be acquired from the shop in 2 different sections. Choose your card. A single Series 3 card separated into their own shop. Instead of purchasing 1 Series 3 card with tokens, players can now only choose 1 Series 3 card to unlock each month for free and basically lose the ability to purchase them for 1,000 tokens. Although it's showing up there now, but my guess is that in the next 3 hours, that'll disappear. So save those tokens for Series 4 and 5. Well, you have to. You don't even have an option. That's what you're going to do. The token shop. The token shop now only contains Series 4, 5, and Ultimate variants. Okay. So cards in the drop. Zabu, Sharon, Shanna, Dazzler, Shadow King, all going from 5 to 4. Going from 4 to 3 is M'Baku, Orca, and Atuma. So that's why M'Baku is the only card that I do not have in Series 3. And so he is showing up right now inside of my... I can do it right here and claim him. Anyways, new audio for Thanos, Nimrod, Master Mold, Teenage Warhead, Morag, and Bar Sinister. That's called Balance Update. Okay. So Thanos was 6'8". They buffed him to 6'11", and they dropped him back to 6'10". Fine. It seemed shocking that they moved him up. They wanted to make Thanos more important. Of course, the real value of Thanos is in the stone. So this is a massive change right here to Space Stone. Space Stone had the ability to move 1 card to another location, which was super helpful with Lockjaw, super helpful with flooded locations or locations where you couldn't play cards. Now it's kind of like a weird version of Cloak. It's basically on turn, you can move 1 card to this location. So they changed it from you can move 1 card at this location to this location and draw a card. So that is a massive nerf, in my opinion, to the Space Stone, because one of the beautiful things about Thanos is that Thanos decks could get into those hard to reach locations and they could go wide. But I think the main thing that the Space Stone was being used for was, frankly, Lockjaw. So that puts a big damper on Lockjaw. All right. Quinjet now reduces cost to a minimum of 1. Now, so that now is in alignment with consistency with Zabu and Sarah. And so this is a direct nerf to the Thanos Lockjaw deck. I'm not sure why they did it this way, because this now, dampers, a lot of other decks, right? Like the Moon Girl deck with Devil Dino, where you're trying to take advantage of Hood, or a Zoo deck, where a lot of people felt that they could have just made the wording of Thanos so that those stones started in the deck, and so that they did not get the benefit of Quinjet. So instead of just directly going after the negative interaction with Quinjet and Thanos, they kind of heavy-handedly nerfed Quinjet across the board. So they talk about it later. Cost reduction is powerful, and Quinjet was one of the very few cards capable of reducing multiple cards' energy to 0. Enjoy this interaction in some cases, such as the Hood Demon. Ultimately, it creates an ongoing risk for future design space as well as fueling the dominant Thanos deck of today. This should be meaningful net reduction in strength to Thanos deck across the board. Yeah, just you won't play Quinjet in that deck at all. All right, Red Skull. So in a vacuum, this is not necessarily a nerf to Red Skull. If you're not playing him with Shuri, Red Skull is going from 515 to 513, effectively making him a 26 power card when he's doubled by Shuri. However, the negative effect of Red Skull, enemy cards at this location have a +1 power. So before, if you played like Red Skull and he wasn't zeroed out and he wasn't buffed by Shuri into a full lane, he basically was a 5-cost card for 7 power. Now he is going to be a 5-cost card for 9 power. So in some ways, this is not really a nerf. It is a nerf when he's paired up with Shuri. It is a nerf when he's paired up with Zero or Sauron. But individually, he's now a better card. Like if you're just playing him without those synergies with those other 2 cards I mentioned. That's interesting. I think that the interactions with Taskmaster, which we're going to read right here, is going to be more negatively impactful against the Shuri Red Skull deck. All right, so the change was significantly aimed at reducing the strength of Red Skull and Shuri. Taskmaster, outside of those interactions, the change is mostly a buff. Correct. All right, She-Hulk. So this is a balance adjustment. She's going from 6'10 to 6'9. I'm fine with that. That is she's a very powerful card. And that's, I don't really understand why they're nerfing cards without buffing cards, but that's another situation. Aero. This one I don't really understand. I do think that Aero needed adjustment, but I'm not sure that this is going to be... She might not be playable anymore. Galactus decks now can just play like Wasp and gets around Aero altogether. On reveal, move all enemy cards play this turn to this location. Now she's going to be 5'8". On reveal, move the last enemy card played this turn to this location. I just don't know why they couldn't have made it not random and made the movement in order of played so that there would be counterplay. We will see. I actually think this is a pretty heavy-handed, in my opinion. Like, I'm not sure if Aero is going to be nearly as useful, which, she was a problematic card. We'll see. I'm sure there's a lot of opinions on Aero, but she's not going to function the same way. For the longest time, I kind of felt she was probably the most powerful Series 3 card. Not true anymore. Aero is a tricky card for us. Actually, game balance for Aero has been healthy. She fills a vital role in our game, providing interaction, especially against dangerous polarizing cards like Galactus. I just don't understand. A Galactus player now can just run Wasp and play Wasp and Galactus on the same turn. It's important for Aero to be versatile as strong in order to be a widely playable tech card. We don't want her pushing the majority of other 5 cards out of decks. Unfortunately, that's how this behavior we're seeing. Aero can be frustrating to see, denying players the option to play their own end games. I agree. This change keeps the Seek Aero strong where she's needed, foster more competition against 5-cost cards and counterplay to make her more fun to play against. Okay, so this next one is a pretty massive nerf to a Taskmaster, but it also is going to affect Mystique, Absorbing Man, and Taskmaster. Basically, these cards will no longer work with cards that are out of play. So this was something that happened all the time with Taskmaster, where like Shang-Chi would blow up your 30 power Red Skull, and then Taskmaster would still copy the destroyed Red Skull. So that will no longer work. On reveal, if the card you played here has an ongoing copy of its text, if it's in play, I think this is a logical thing to do, but this is a big nerf to Taskmaster and a huge buff to, let's say, Shang-Chi. Okay, Morbius. So, okay, so the next two adjustments for Morbius and Knull are not really changes at all. The way that it worked in the past is that when you saw Morbius in your hand, you could see how many cards were discarded and the card would move up. And when you played it, you would see the number, which is different than, let's say, Devil Dino. Like when you have Devil Dino in your hand, you see the 3 and then you have to calculate it yourself. Well, that's how it's going to be with Morbius. You're going to have to calculate it itself. And so this creates for a better interaction with a card like Mr. Negative, which you wouldn't necessarily use with Morbius, but I know a lot of people wanted to use Knull with Mr. Negative. So what are they doing to Morbius? So his power no longer updates with in hand or in deck, only at the location. So Morbius basically is, you know, his effective power is going to remain the same. The strength of the card remains the same. Now, when you see him in his hand, he's always going to be a 2/0. When you play him, it'll reflect the correct number. We previously suggested Morbius power to update when he wasn't in play to simplify calculations, future power. However, this has proven a bit confusing with comparison to similar cards like Devil Dino, right? And also unnecessary, given Morbius is often played very early in the game and isn't very hard to calculate. Reverting the change, expected to add future functionality to Morbius and all cards with ongoing buffs to their own power that communicates their power in order to make these cards simpler to play. I mean, they could just have like a little red number like off to the side and say, you know, it says like Devil Dino 5-3, and then right there it says 17. Like it just tells you what it is once you play it. Just a little red number next to Darkhawk, where, you know, instead of having to click on your opponents to see they have 5 cards in their deck, and it just has a little red 10 underneath it or something. So Knull would also calculate the power. So what they're going to do with Knull is that when Knull is in your hand, you will still be able to see the power, because that's really hard to calculate, right? Like, it's very nice to have that number where you can see that I'm going to have 128 power Knull or whatever it is, or 42 power Knull. But they're not going to do that in the deck. That way, when Mr. Negative is played, you will actually have a proper 0 cost 6 power Knull. So basically, this is fixes a busted interaction with Mr. Negative. Okay, but it will work basically the same way as it did before. The only change is now it'll work correctly with Mr. Negative. All right, we're going to skip over all of the bug fixes, and we're going to talk about the one bug fix that is actually a boost to Leech. Cards that lose their ability due to Leech no longer get that ability back if they're pulled back into play by another card. So the way that it worked is like if you took a leeched card and put it into Lockjaw, and Lockjaw would bounce it back into your deck, and then if you drew it again, it would no longer be leeched. So this is actually a buff to Leech, because now it'll remain leeched if it gets cycled back into your deck and then into your hand through a card like Lockjaw. All right, we're just going to go over this summary by PME Shiba Dago. They didn't nerf Shuri. They nerfed Red Skull, kind of. They changed his ability to +1 and +2, but if you're doubling in power, this part of the ability was always irrelevant. So I think it's actually kind of a neutral change to Red Skull. It's definitely a nerf in the Shuri or a 0 interaction. Space Stone and Quinjet got big nerfs, yes. And then this is going to negatively impact Moon Girl, Demon, Quinjet shenanigans. Quinjet is now minimum 1. So that is similar to that of Sarah and Zabu. Space Stone is now a move a card to that location, not from. This is a massive nerf. Taskmaster, Absorbing Man, and Mystique won't copy a card that's been destroyed. Shang-Chi stock is rising. Aero will now move last card played in your opponent on that turn. Good against Galactus and Sandman decks. I don't know if she'd be that good for other things against Galactus. So I think that Aero might still see play in Sandman decks or maybe Wave decks, but I don't know. She-Hulk gets -1 power. Another indirect Shuri nerf, and Knull no longer gets screwed over by Mr. Negative. So Aero stock fell. Not the worst nerf possible, but she got nerfed pretty bad. They should have just made it she moved cards in the order they were played. I agree with that. They don't like people holding cards making explosive turn 6 plays, so I guess that's where there's no Leech nerf. I'm just really surprised there's no Leech nerf. There's a Leech buff. Lockjaw, Quantum, Tunnel, and Hella won't give the cards their abilities back. I still think that Galactus is going to be viable. You know, Devil Dino, Darkhawk decks are going to be very viable. Sandman, Electro, Ramp decks, you know, those control decks are still be viable. And Galactus got stronger. So those are the patch notes. And again, where are the buffs? You know, they could have buffed some cards. It just seems strange to me. Let me know what you think in the comment section. I'm sure not everybody's going to agree with all this stuff. But for me, I just don't understand, you know, why they didn't give us any buffs at all. Let me know. Bye for now.